topics in the Dragon Ball fandom at the moment is the time travel shenanigans in the future Trunks / debated Goku Black arc. And it's very understandable why it would be so. Time travel in Dragon Ball has always been kind of convoluted, kind of nonsensical in and out of itself. It relies on creating alternate timelines that kind of serve as a multiverse. But then we have an actual multiverse now, and the storyline has decided to combine alternate timelines with that possible time loop with an actual multiverse, and it is a very overly complicated, and I think I'm being more than generous when I say that it is a very convoluted situation that's going to be debated for many years to come, and we're probably never going to get a solid answer out of things that's going to perfectly explain everything. And the reason for this is because there are two official quote-unquote versions of how this whole fiasco is going on as of right now, and there are going to be three once the Dragon Ball Super manga completes its version of the Goku Black arc, where we're already seeing events happen differently. Certain events are omitted, certain events happen entirely differently. How Zamasu finds out about Goku is also quite a bit different, and it's also a way for Toyotaro to clearly kind of correct one of the mistakes that the anime is making that we're going to get into. But for all intents and purposes, I will not be discussing the Dragon Ball Super manga because, like I said, the manga has not completed its version of events. It's not there yet, and when it does get there, I'm probably going to do a video where I'm going to discuss about the various details that are shown in Toyotaro's version and then compare them to what the anime has done. And the anime is already kind of shooting itself in the foot because the writers are very obviously going for a sort of loop theory, whereas the Toei marketing division, I should say, possibly even some of the writers from the Dragon Ball Super anime itself, are going with a split timeline theory. Toei released kind of an official statement that is meant to explain how the time travel works in the current future Trunks arc of Dragon Ball Super, but it still doesn't make much sense, and it doesn't even align with events presented in the show. And the biggest problem between these two quote-unquote official stances is that they both kind of cancel each other out, and they both make themselves redundant thanks to a few factors, and one factor in particular, one tidbit from Beerus, makes actually the existence of the entire storyline highly impossible if you actually stop to think about it. The anime, ignoring Toei's recent chart that proposes a split timeline theory caused by Beerus, which doesn't even make much sense, which I'm going to get into, the anime has a loop theory. Basically, what a time loop is when an event, it's basically like if a dude goes about his everyday life and then he travels back in time to like 500 years ago, and then he meets a beautiful woman, and then he has a family with her. And then it turns out that this dude is his own ancestor, and so he is predestined to go back in time, become his own ancestor, and then create a family that survives to the modern day before traveling back in time. And so it's a loop, it's a circle, it just keeps going on and on and on with nothing to break the loop, because usually the people who are in the loop are not particularly aware of it existing, and if they were, they might do something to break the loop and then just erase themselves from existence. And this is something that the anime kind of does, where Zamasu meets Goku, he fights Goku, he becomes obsessed with gaining Goku's power because he finds some kind of sick irony in using a mortal to destroy other mortals, or humans, or ningen, if you want to be that much of a Japanese purist. And then he becomes Goku Black, he steals Goku's body, he kills Goku's family, I'm gonna assume he kills Goku's friends too, because he recognizes Vegeta immediately when he goes into the present day, but then that's not in the manga, so yeah. But regardless, he goes back into the future, then he, kills future Gowasu, and then he recruits another version of himself, future Zamasu, to basically cleanse the world of all humans, of earthlings, Namekians, of all mortals, and other gods who will stand in their way. The way the anime portrays these events is that in Goku Black's history, Trunks traveled back in time to inform Goku and Beerus of what was going on, but this doesn't really work. See, the reason why present-day Zamasu even fails is because Goku and Beerus become aware of his actions, and therefore they can stop his assassination attempt. In the show, the reason why the characters even kind of bring this up, the characters even stop and say, look, how are you here? You can't be our version of Zamasu. You can't be the Zamasu of our timeline because Beerus just killed you. I saw him kill you, so how are you here? And then the anime kind of shows us, so he protects himself thanks to the time ring. So even though Black's version of history does not exist and everything he did does not exist, the time ring is protecting him. So Black is kind of like this weird anomaly in the time stream where he exists from a timeline that's been erased thanks to Beerus murdering him. What happened in Black's version of history? Because in Black's version of history, Goku fights Zamasu for no apparent reason. And I say no apparent reason because if Goku and Beerus were aware of what Zamasu was going to become, of what he was going to do, then they would have killed him. Yet in Zamasu, Black Zamasu's version of history, this did not happen. Goku fights him for seemingly no reason whatsoever, and then he's not there to stop him when he assassinates Gowasu. It doesn't even look like there is an actual investigation going on, because if there was, in a hypothetical scenario where Gowasu did manage to die, Beerus, Goku, and Whis would not stand for it because he murdered a god, and that is a sin that is big enough for Beerus to get involved in. And so already you have some chinks being shown in the armor. Not big ones, but they're starting to show. And remember that detail about one god killing another having repercussions throughout all timelines, because that's kind of where everything completely falls apart. Then we go to Toei's official chart, which says that when Beerus killed Zamasu, it created a split timeline. So what happened in this version of history? So according to this, Beerus interferes with Zamasu's plan, and in the timeline that we see, he kills Zamasu, and that's the end of that. Zamasu's no more, he's no threat to the future, and all that jazz. It doesn't make any sense. Like, what caused the split? Did Beerus decide not to kill Zamasu? Did Zamasu have a final spurt of conscience where he decided, I'm not going to kill my mentor right now, and then just decide, nah, I'm going to kill him later on anyway? What happened here? Like, if this was a situation where Whis' temporal do-over caused a split timeline, you could kind of be okay with that. You could say, oh well, Whis created a split timeline where Beerus and Whis and Goku did not interfere in Zamasu's assassination attempt, and that Zamasu became Goku Black. That would make mostly sense until you remember that killing God detail, which I'm gonna get to in a short bit. So that would almost make a fair bit of sense. But no, they specifically say that Beerus, for some reason, created a split timeline, but it doesn't really make sense. Like, did Beerus just decide not to kill Zamasu? Did Gowasu beg for his pupil's life and then just get killed later on anyway? Like, what? Once again, I have to question what the fuck happened in Black's version of history. But then we get to a particular detail that breaks. So, Beerus says that when a god kills another god, it's kind of like a special event. It causes a ripple effect throughout every version of history, and it eliminates that god from existence. And when you think about this and you start applying this rule to what we know about Goku Black's history, this once again does not make much sense, because Zamasu is a god. And before you tell me, oh no, Zamasu is a Kai in training, he's not a god. No, god is a designation in the Dragon Ball universe. Being a god is not a species. Gods are not a species. Kami was a Namekian, but he was also a god. Dende is a Namekian, but he is also technically a god. King Kai, or Kaio-sama, is a Kai, but also a god. Goku was offered the position of God of Destruction in Battle of Gods the film, and I believe even in the arc. So if Goku accepted the job, he would be a Saiyan, but he would also be a god. You see where I'm going with this? Being a god is not a species thing. It's a designation. It's kind of like how you can be a Mexican and a Catholic. That's kind of like the best way I can describe it. Another good way of explaining it is how Piccolo Daimao and Piccolo Jr., at least in the 23rd Budokai arc, he was a Namekian, but he was also a demon. Demons are, once again, like, they're a faction, they're a designation, they're not technically a species like they are in other forms of media. So Zamasu is a god, and he is a god who murdered another god. So I have to question, why the fuck hasn't every version of Gowasu ever died right then and there? Why isn't main Gowasu dead? Why isn't future Gowasu dead? Like, where's the ripple effect there? He is a god who killed another god. So So where's this ripple effect, guys? Even if you're going to tell me, okay, Beerus killing another god causes the ripple effect to happen because Beerus is a god of destruction. He's like a superpowered god, and he's so fucking awesome he can just do that. Okay, then let me give you a counter argument. Why the fuck hasn't future Zamasu disappeared? Because remember, the thing that is apparently protecting Goku Black from just being erased from time in both theories is the time ring. So where is future Zamasu's time ring? He's never drawn with a time ring. He's never being shown wearing a time ring. The only thing he has is the Supreme Kai, or the Kaioshin earrings, the Potara earrings that are used for Potara fusion. So if Beerus killing every version of Zamasu has a ripple effect, why isn't future Zamasu gone? Like, why didn't he get eliminated from the others, especially because he has no time ring to protect him the same way Goku Black does? When you just take a step back and you look at the big picture of all this information I'm just giving you and all the information provided by the anime, by Toei themselves, you just get a big load of nonsense. And I understand what Toriyama is trying to do with the whole ripple effect of a god killing another god thing. I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to cover his ass. He's trying to create more ways for this to make sense. But when you really think about it, it doesn't make sense because, like I said, Zamasu, or the Zamasu becomes Goku Black, he kills Gowasu. Why hasn't every version of Gowasu immediately dropped dead right then and there if it's meant to cause a ripple effect? Why isn't future Zamasu dead if Beerus killed him in the main timeline and the ripple effect is supposed to only count for Beerus? So why isn't future Zamasu dead? He doesn't have a time ring. He has nothing to protect him from the ripple effect. Why isn't he gone? And so ultimately, this is all just a big load of nonsense, and this is probably the biggest issue I have with the arc. And it is a shame because the arc started really, really strong and it kept going really, really well. But the last few episodes, they've had lots of fake starts, lots of fake finishes. They've introduced a lot of information that just does not any fucking sense whatsoever. And it's just kind of a big convoluted mess. And I honestly didn't think it was possible to make a more needlessly stupid and convoluted set of events than the Cell arc. But this is way, 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 way worse. Like, the Cell arc has a couple of holes that keep it from completely working. This just does not work at all. This is truly, truly some of the most needlessly convoluted storytelling I've ever seen. I just cannot fathom why the fuck you would combine a multiverse and a time loop and split timelines and try to do them all in one storyline. Especially if you're Akira Toriyama, who's a guy who, let's just say like it is, Toriyama is not a master storyteller. He can create an entertaining storyline. He can even make an unintentionally kind of deep and thematic storyline. But when it comes to actually creating a good story structure, Toriyama hasn't been good for a long, long time. And he is especially bad when you give him time travel to deal with. So yeah, the arc of, even if the Goku Black arc sticks the landing and it's a really, really satisfying conclusion, this is going to remain a big stain on the arc, which is unfortunate because I feel like the manga has already taken steps to remove some of the convoluted fluff out of things, and I really hope that Toyotaro manages to make all this shit work in his version of events. But if he doesn't, then it's just going to be a mess across the whole board. So yeah, I'm probably going to get a lot of, I'm probably not going to get a lot of theories because not many people watch my Dragon Ball videos, but for the people who do watch this and who do watch the show, I'm probably expect at least a couple people to say, no, Ivan, this is how it works. Trust me, guys, I've seen it. I've talked to other people on Kanzenshu on how it's supposed to work, and it fucking doesn't. It just does not make sense, regardless if you think it's a split timeline theory or a time loop theory. It just does not work. Certain facts presented by the show, both options fairly unviable if you ask me. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment, like, and or subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you later.